Imagine waking up at a hospital after being rescued from an explosion. Upon waking up, you have no memory of who you are, where you're from, or what your life was about. So, you work towards making a new life, and you live it for the past 8 years until one day you find out that your pre-amnesic life was that of a spy working for Citadel. So what exactly is Citadel? It's a spy agency that has no affiliation with any one country or being, but it still shapes a lot of the world events that happen around us. If you haven't gotten the memo already, let me just tell you, I am reviewing Citadel, but before that, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's get talking. Starring Priyanka Chopra Jonas, Richard Madden, and Stanley Tucci, Citadel is a spy thriller currently streaming on Amazon Prime. Basically, Citadel is another notch in the belt for Priyanka Chopra Jonas' master plan of world domination. She is not only headlining such a huge show, but with Citadel, she also achieved pay parity. Priyanka Chopra Jonas is getting paid the exact same amount as Richard Madden is for her role as Nadia, who is, of course, Mason's counterpart in the show. The intro shot of Citadel is beautiful. It's an upside down shot that slowly turns right side up, and in it, a lady in a fiery red dress with red stilettos and a purse to match walks onto screen. What an entry. But if you thought that Priyanka Chopra was the only one receiving a sexy intro, you had another thing coming for you. Because then we have Richard Madden making an equally suave and sexy intro of his own. He walks onto screen with a lighter flickering on and off, making small talk in various languages. Mandarin check, German check, Spanish check, and then of course, we have the English pad down as well. Giving him equal support in this roulette of languages is none other than Nadia. And then of course, this language display builds up to that fiery kiss. And then to top all that off, the first action sequence begins on the train. And let me just say, this is one of the best action sequences in the entire series. With this intro scene, you literally get the feel for the entire series. It's gonna be a sexy and stylized take on a spy's journey. In a bag full of advanced weaponry, the most potent may be a red lipstick. Because after all, which guy can resist that? And say you do come across a guy that isn't faced by the red lips, you always have a gun to fall back on. Because, as Nadia Sinh says, she doesn't play for the minor leagues. The non-linear storytelling in the show is engaging at first. It keeps you on the seats, guessing what is happening and why is it happening. We are thrust into Nadia and Kyle, aka Mason's present, where they are lost and they have no idea what to do with their lives. But what gets them to this point is soon revealed. Citadel relies too heavily on flashbacks. Flashback after flashback after flashback, it just detracts from the storytelling overall, and it takes away any present-day mystery and intrigue we as viewers should have. And then, in an attempt to tie up the season into a nice little bow and set up season 2, Citadel does reveal after reveal after reveal. Every single episode starts with, why is it happening? And then cut to, this is why it's happening, and this is why we're here in the present. It's a thriller without any guesswork. We're on a journey without even having to do any homework. We don't have to keep track of what's going on and why it's happening because the show tells us pretty much episode after episode. Everyone knows that in order to be a good thriller, you have to have a great payoff at the end. Citadel lacks just that. There's just no payoff, and if there is, it's so minuscule that you really don't care. As a viewer, there's really little left to the imagination. We've already have everything figured out before we get to the end scene. Even the action sequences, which are too far in between, lack punch, pun intended, because we're already in the present and we know that Nadia and Mason survive each encounter. Citadel caters to the lowest common denominator found in all spy thrillers. There's memory loss, where a spy doesn't have any idea who he is, where he's from, and what he's doing in life. There's a techie who has every gadget under the sun available. There's a rival bad guy organization, and in this case it's Manticore, whose one mission is to destroy Citadel. And then obviously the doomsday scenario. But like every spy thriller, that doomsday scenario can be taken care of if our hero and heroine come together. As far as characters go, Richard Madden plays a pretty interesting one. In his past life as Mason, the spy, he is suave, he is sexy, he's intelligent, he's fierce, he has a chip on his shoulder. But in his current life as Kyle, he has no recollection of that. He is a simple husband and father living his life. The problem here, though, is that when these two lives intersect, there's no fireworks. And that's because the show leaves us at a cliffhanger to find out what happens with Mason, aka Kyle, next season. Is his past history with Nadia and his secret love child gonna pull him back into the past, or is he gonna continue to lead a domestic life with his wife and child in the present? And just in case that personal turmoil isn't enough to bring you back for a second season, how about finding out that Mason is the double agent that sells out Citadel? Guys, that was total sarcasm because you would have to be living under a rock if you couldn't figure out that Mason was the double agent here. Just like Richard Madden, Priyanka Chopra Jonas also has a pretty interesting character. Nadia is not only a sexy badass spy, but she is a daughter of a terrorist. Not only that, she's also keeping a love child she has with Mason a secret. With all these secrets, Citadel wants us to assume that Nadia is the double agent. But while it wants you to believe that, it also peppers in these questionable scenes and sequences with Mason. This whole sequence isn't exciting. We really don't care who the double agent is because we're not invested in Mason's story, nor are we invested in Nadia's story. Even the revelation that she's a terrorist's daughter is brushed under the carpet. Nothing is done with it. Both Priyanka and Richard are a visual treat. They exude sexiness. And in a show that glorifies the glossy spy life, they are an apt pair. Both handle their stunts well and both are convincing. They have a confidence on screen and do the most with what they were given. The problem here is that they weren't given much. There's no emotional pull to either character and there's no emotional depth to their portrayal of these characters. It's not the acting that's lacking as much as it is the writing. The writing is pretty shoddy, guys. Even the writing for Stanley Tucci's character Bernard Orlick is all over the place. He's the techie with the smarts, the gadgets, the info, always at disposal at the opportune moment. Like Nadia and Mason, he also has a family. In his case, it's an ex-wife and child. But just like every other secondary character in the show, these family members are also one-dimensional. Like I said, the writing is really bad. None of the characters are fleshed out properly. They have a history, but we don't feel the weight of it. They're all pretty surface level here. There's no depth, even though a lot of these relationships are intermingled. There's like a web of relationships and they're all related to each other in a certain way. But because we don't form a connection with them in the past or present, we don't really care. We should feel some kind of tension. We should feel some kind of way, knowing that Kyle has a wife and child, but there's an instant chemistry or intensity between Kyle and Nadia when she comes back into his life. Do we want to see what comes up with the past history? Do we want him to remain loyal to his current wife? Does it matter? Should we care? And then the craziest part is that after 8 years of living a normal life, they're thrust back into the spy world, but they pick up where they left off pretty easily. As the show reiterates, you might not have any memory of your life, but your body remembers. Muscle memory? There's also a dialogue in the show. It goes, a spy can have 100 names and faces and identities, but only one soul. And that's exactly what the show lacks. There's no soul. I wish the show had put as much thought into character development as it did into the gadgets and tech it shows us. In this spy thriller series, if you can even call it a thriller, there are only 3 standout scenes for me when it comes to the emotional aspect of the story. The first is when Nadia and Mason confront each other at lunch over why he did what he did. The second is in the present, when Kyle finds out that he has a child with Nadia. And the third is when Kyle finally recovers his memories of being Mason, and he now has to juggle with the reality of his current family situation versus his past love life. Unfortunately, this show doesn't hinge on emotion, nor does it dwell on it. Just as soon as an emotional situation arises, it's quickly swept under the carpet by another flashback, or some kind of dialogue that's supposed to be sarcastic, smart, sexy, sleek, or another revelation, or an action sequence. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of cool angles, and the favorite amongst the showrunners is this 180 that they take almost every episode. The upside down world slowly becomes right side up, and maybe this is a metaphor for this show. The threadbare storyline is going to continue whether you want it to or not. The most intriguing part of Citadel is not the characters, it's not the storyline, it's not its acting, because let's get real, no one is gonna get an Emmy for this. And it's not even that it's gonna come for another season. The most intriguing aspect of Citadel is that they're making a spyverse. The Citadel world is going to expand, we're going to see new locations, we're going to see new characters, and then their stories are going to develop, and we're going to see how they all come together, hopefully. But my question is this: if Citadel itself is not that strong of a show, how strong are the spin-offs going to be? And if Citadel doesn't have much recall value, how much energy are we going to put into its Spyverse? If you're a Priyanka Chopra fan, I'm sure you're pretty happy to see her headlining a huge show as this. I mean, yeah, it's a really big accomplishment, and we should congratulate her for that. But because I've watched Priyanka's journey in Bollywood, I know she's capable of much more when it comes to acting and when it comes to inhabiting a character. Over the years, Priyanka has proved herself time and time and again that she has the acting chops. Citadel just doesn't give her a time to explore any of that. People might think I'm being pretty brutal with the show, but I'm trying to give an honest take on it. It is an okay show. If Priyanka wasn't a part of it, I wouldn't have watched it. But she was a part of it, so here we are. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of it. Was it worth the wait? Was it worth the watch? Are you excited to see the Citadel Spyverse? Let me know. Until then, like and share and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.